title of this video is Using Visual Fraction Models to Interpret and Compute Quotients. We're going to review some basic concepts first. We have one whole bar, and it is equally divided into 6 equal sections. So 6 equals 1 whole. If we were to take 1/2 of this whole, that would be equal to 3/6. Because 1/2 of this whole has how many 6 in it? There are 3 1/6 in there. 3/6 is equal to 1/2. We have learned that 4/5 divided by 2/5, when we have an equation like that, when we divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. And remember that the reciprocal is the flip of that divisor. So the divisor becomes 5/2 rather than 2/5. And when we multiply the numerators. 4 times 5 is 20, and 5 times 2 is 10. 20 tenths, and we know that the last step is to simplify if needed. And in this case, 20 tenths is equal to the whole number 2. So let's remember these basic rules with working with fractions as we go through the rest of this video. So we're going to look at a visual model of this problem, 4/5 divided by 2/5. So I have one whole, and it's divided into equal sections of 1/5. So how many 2/5 are there in 4/5? Looking at the visual model, I'm going to make groups of 2/5. I've shaded in the 4/5. So how many groups of 2/5 are there in 4/5? Well, I have one group of 2/5, two groups of 2/5. So my quotient is 2. Now, how would I check to find if that solution is correct? Well, I'm going to take my quotient, which is 2, that's 2/1, and I'm going to multiply it times the divisor, which is 2/5, and I should get the dividend, which is 4/5. 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 times 5 is 5. And there we have it. That's our check. What equation do you think this model represents? How many shaded pieces do we have? Well, we have 8/9 shaded. And how many groups are there? Well, there's 4 groups. So I'm pretty sure that what goes here at the end, is 4. So what is my divisor, and how did I figure that out? Well, each shaded group has 2/9 in it. So if each group has 2/9, it's going to be 8/9 divided by 2/9. It says how many groups of 2/9 are there in 8/9? Well, there are 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And once again, if I take my quotient 4, which is over 1, and I multiply it times the divisor, which is 2/9, I should end up with my dividend, which is 8/9. Well, 4 times 2 does equal 8. And 1 times 9 equals 9. There we have it. Check. Let's interpret this model and equation. There are 8 shaded 9ths, and there are 1, 2, 3 groups. So my quotient is going to be 3. But what exactly is in each group? Well, in each group, there are 3/9. Whoops, I'm not very good at that. All right, here's 1/9, here's 1/9, and here's 1/9. So 8/9 divided by 3/9. How many 3/9 are in 8/9? How did we get 2 2/3? Well, let's look at the groups. Here's one whole group of 3/9. Here's another whole group of 3/9. Now in the third group, in this one right here, do we have 3/9 shaded? No, we only have 2. But those aren't ninths in this one group. In this group, each one of these pieces is a third. So we have 2/3 of that last group is actually shaded. Okay, so let's do a check for our solution. 8/9 divided by 3/9 equals 8/3. If I say 3/9 and I multiply it times our quotient of 8/3, do I get 8/9? Well, what I do is I notice right away that you can factor out 3. So I factor out the 3, then I multiply the numerators. 8 times 1 is 8, and I multiply the denominators. 9 times 1 is 9, and I get 8/9. And 8/9 indeed is our dividend. Our solution, 8/3, is simplified to 2 2/3. And you remember how we got that. When we look at each group, what does 1/9 represent in each of the 3 groups? In each of the 3 groups, 1/9 is 1/3 of that group. And you see in the very last group, we only have 2 of those. So we have 2/3 of that last group, and that's how we get the 2/3. 2 whole groups, and then 2/3 of the last group. Okay, well that ends this very brief video on dividing fractions and using visual models to interpret those particular equations, and the other way around, equations to visual models and visual model to an equation. Enjoy the activity.